What's up guys, my name is Brandon and Apple's going to be releasing iOS 12 next week, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about how my experience has been with iOS 12 on some of my older devices like the iPhone 5S here. I have two 5Ss here, one on iOS 12, one on 11.4.1, as well as how iOS 12 has been running on another older device like the iPhone 6 and even the iPhone 7. So in this video we're going to be discussing the performance, the battery life, and my recommendation on if you should update or not on these older devices to iOS 12. Now I will also be doing separate final review videos on the iPhone 5S and the iPhone 6 individually, so definitely stay tuned for those videos. But anyways, let's just discuss iOS 12 on older devices. So if you guys remember at WWDC earlier this year, Apple was explaining how iOS 12 was going to be improving the performance on all devices, but they especially made sure to hit on the older devices. They used the iPhone 6 as an example up on stage and talked about how it's going to be so much quicker, saying that applications are going to launch 40% faster and accessing the camera from the lock screen on the iPhone 6 Plus is going to be 70% faster. So it seemed like Apple was really trying to revive older devices with iOS 12, since obviously we all know that iOS 11 was absolutely terrible for the iPhone 5S specifically, but also for the iPhone 6. So after that keynote where they announced iOS 12, and also after running through all the betas on iOS 12 on these older devices, I was happy. I mean, throughout all 12 betas, I have definitely been happy with the performance, the battery life, everything with iOS 12. And I mean, it really didn't take too much because iOS 11 was just so bad on the 5S. I just really didn't even use it. I didn't even care to use it at all. So iOS 12 is definitely better than iOS 11, but it's still not perfect and the device is still rather slow. And I mean, it is a 5-year-old device, but once again, iOS 12 has definitely brought new life to my 5-year-old iPhone 5S. I don't get near as many random reboots. I don't get near as many bugs as I did with iOS 11. I mean, even just the update process when I updated to iOS 11 was a nightmare on my iPhone 5S. I definitely noticed that applications open up quicker here on iOS 12 compared to iOS 11.4.1. I'll just do a quick example here with Asphalt 9. You can see this is iOS 12 right here. This is iOS 11.4.1 on the right. If we click it at the same time, you can see that both of them actually had to restart, and you can see iOS 12 loads up the game quicker. And if we want to open up the camera, you can see right there, iOS 12, 11.4.1 a few seconds behind it. And even closing out of the applications is quicker. Just the animations are quicker here on iOS 12. And one big difference I noticed is that the share sheet on iOS 12 pops up a lot quicker than it does on iOS 11. So if we go to this picture right here and pull up the share sheet, you can see that iOS 12 just dominates iOS 11 there. And this is actually something that I noticed in day-to-day usage, and I actually had to test it side by side to make sure I wasn't crazy that it was coming up so much quicker. I'll do it one more time just for good measure. Same time, you can see right there, iOS 12 clearly a winner when opening the share sheet. And it goes on and on, pretty much everything in iOS 12, not everything, but pretty much everything is quicker in iOS 12 than it was in 11.4.1. Now, even though Apple used an iPhone 6 Plus on stage to demonstrate how much quicker the iPhone gets to the camera on the lock screen, I will demonstrate it with the 5S just to show you that it is definitely quicker on iOS 12 than iOS 11.4.1. So if we go to the lock screen and swipe over, you can see iOS 12, iOS 11. We'll do it one more time. iOS 12, iOS 11 quickly there behind. Now it is definitely more noticeable on the iPhone 6 for whatever reason, but it is also quicker here on the 5S. Now given all these small speed improvements, would I consider the iPhone 5S usable on iOS 12? And to that I say yes, but it's going to take a lot of patience. If you aren't patient, or you just have used the newer device like the iPhone 8, the iPhone 7, or even the iPhone 10, you are going to hate the iPhone 5S because it is slow in comparison to those new phones. And it's definitely much slower than the iPhone SE, which is around the same price range. So yes, it's usable, but you do need to have patience while using it. Now let me take this guy off and put the iPhone 6 here in the spotlight. So the iPhone 6 is a newer device than the iPhone 5S, but it's still a 4-year-old device. And once again, the speed improvements on the 6 are definitely noticeable over iOS 11, like iOS 11.4.1, but it still isn't quick compared to some of the newer phones. As I mentioned a couple times, the lock screen camera does come up a lot quicker than it did on iOS 11, and applications will definitely open up quicker. The share sheet is also quicker here on the iPhone 6, not as noticeable as it is on the iPhone 5S, but it is quicker. Applications load up quicker, just pretty much everything loads up quicker on the iPhone 6 as well. I don't think it's quite as noticeable as it is on the iPhone 5S, since iOS 11 was just so terrible on the 5S. Now there's really not much more to say about the iPhone 6 because I'll just basically be repeating myself because it's going to be the exact same stuff that I said about the iPhone 5S, but let's talk about the battery life on both the iPhone 6 and the 5S on iOS 12. I will say that I am getting better battery life on iOS 12 compared to iOS 11, but it isn't really that much better on the 5S or the 6. I mean, iOS 12 does give us the new battery settings right here where we can see our battery health. We can also see what's using up all of our battery here with our screen on or screen off, and we can see which applications are using the most, so that definitely helps with optimizing the battery. And we also have the screen time feature right here, which will definitely help you figure out what's eating away at your battery. And I'll touch on these sections a little bit more in my individual review of the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 5S on iOS 12, but this definitely does help you optimize your battery. And just overall, even if you didn't have all these optimization settings, iOS 12 does improve the battery life, but it's not that noticeable compared to iOS 11. But you can't really complain because it is still good news that your battery will go further on iOS 12. And like I mentioned earlier, if you are considering downgrading to an iPhone 5S or a 6 in 2018 or 2019, I would not do so. I would go for the iPhone SE instead, since it is much quicker and it doesn't cost as much as an iPhone 7, which would be my second recommendation in 2018 going into 2019. But to answer the question, should you update to iOS 12 on your iPhone 5S or your iPhone 6, the answer is definitely yes. iOS 11 was terrible for the 5S. It wasn't that great on the iPhone 6 either, but iOS 12 just improves the speed, the battery life. There's really no reason not to install iOS 12 on your older device. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I did just want to make this video just to talk to you guys about how my older devices, I don't really talk about my older devices here on the channel as much anymore, but I wanted to talk to you guys about how they have been performing on iOS 12. But I also made this video because I am wondering about yours. So if you have an old device like the iPhone 5S, iPhone 6, iPhone 6S, maybe even the iPhone 7 would be considered old, let me know how iOS 12 has been treating your device over these last 12 betas. And at this point, iOS 12 beta 12 is basically the GM, so we can consider this basically a final review on older devices of iOS 12. But yeah, make sure you guys leave a comment down below with how your experience has been with iOS 12. And if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. Also make sure to subscribe for a lot more iOS 12 content, a lot of content on the new iPhones coming out and more. So anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.